Hello and welcome everybody. Today let's try to do the impossible. We are going to recap the 11 years of cinematic storytelling in a single video. If you are someone who hasn't watched any of the Marvel's MCU movies but want to watch the Avengers Endgame, then this is for you. But please let me know who you are and what you have been up to for the last decade. And well, if you're a Marvel fan, then this would work as a summary to refresh your memories. I'm not going to be linear and chronological, but will try to tell things as they fit. We are going to consider all the important and relevant events. We talk about only the major plot points and will ignore all the stuff that no longer matters. But let's start with some good news first. We are giving away 2 Infinity Gauntlets.
I never made it, but I know what it takes. I'm motivated by a mix of emotion. Got my statement, and I'm reading it slow so I can understand it.
It all starts with a man named Tony Stark, who is the son of multi-billionaire business tycoon Howard Stark, who made his fortune in the weapons industry. Tony was an arrogant genius prodigy who thought himself to be too cool to take life seriously. But things change forever when he's kidnapped by a group of terrorists in Afghanistan after suffering a near-fatal heart injury. He's held captive in a cave and asked to make missiles for the terrorist organization. It is here that we witness the genius of Tony Stark. He uses the resources provided by the terrorist organization for the missiles to make an arc reactor for himself, which is basically an energy source device like any battery, but it is way too powerful for its size. Tony uses the arc reactor to temporarily solve his heart issue, and then he goes on to forge the first Iron Man suit. Needless to say, it didn't go well for those terrorist overlords. This experience is one of the cornerstones of Tony's character. He is disillusioned and decides to steer his company, Stark Industries, away from the weapons business. While at it, he perfects what he had developed in that cave, and we get the first cool look at Iron Man's suit. The technology developed by Tony Stark is far ahead of its time, except for Wakanda, which happens to be the most advanced place on Earth and is located somewhere in Africa. But since they are too advanced, they have decided to keep themselves hidden from the rest of the world. Since what Tony has developed is too incredible to be ignored, it gets attention from the US military to UN Security Council. Tony faces resistance from within his company for his decision to change the course of Stark Industries. To appease the US military, however, he lets Rhodey, his only close friend, who happens to be a lieutenant, keep one of his Iron Man suits. Rhodey becomes War Machine, Iron Man's sidekick. At one point, Tony Stark is approached by a government agency called SHIELD for the Avengers Initiative. SHIELD was designed to deal with uncommon threats, and Tony Stark's father, Howard Stark, was one of the founding members. As years passes by, Tony keeps on improving his technology, and as a person he grows gentler and kinder. He finds love in his former secretary, Pepper Potts.
You can take away my house, all my tricks and toys. One thing you can't take away? I am Iron Man.
When Tony joins the Avengers, he meets with Steve Rogers, known as Captain America. Captain America is a super soldier created during World War II. He had superhuman strength, durability, and stamina. During World War II, to save millions of lives, he crashed the plane that was carrying tons of explosives. He went down with the plane and was taken to be dead, until in present time he is discovered and found to be alive. Captain America carries a cool shield that was designed by Tony's father and is made of the strongest metal known to humankind, the vibranium. For the Avengers Initiative, SHIELD bring together a few other people, including a scientist named Bruce Banner, an expert on gamma radiations. But he's more than just an extraordinary scientist. He has a secret. When he turns too angry, he transforms into a big green monster who is almost invincible and can take on entire armies on his own. And as he gets angrier, he gets more powerful. So you don't want to piss this guy off. It is important to point out here that Hulk and Bruce Banner are 2 separate personalities who have learned to live together, but soon Hulk realizes that Bruce Banner only calls upon him when he's in danger or when Hulk's brute strength is needed. This creates a rift between the two.
What do you mean, no?
Now that's enough human talk. Let's talk about the gods. We know gods aren't fooling around on Earth, so let's go to a place named Asgard. As it turns out, gods don't happen to be a fan of democracy. Maybe democracy is beneath them. So Asgard is ruled by a king named Odin, who has 3 children, 2 of his own and 1 adopted. One is god of thunder named Thor, one is the god of mischief named Loki, the adopted one, and the eldest of them is Hela, the goddess of death. Thor has this cool hammer named Mjolnir, which is his primary weapon, and he is too dependent on it until his elder sister Hela destroys it once and for all. Because that's what siblings do, destroy your favorite things just to prove a point. And did I mention that Hela took out one of Thor's eyes? And if that wasn't enough, Thor has to trigger the destruction of his homeworld Asgard to get rid of her. And you think you have siblings problem, but that's not even it. Remember his adopted brother Loki? Well, the relationship between the two has been twisted with full of backstabbings to say the least. Thor has tried on numerous occasions to get the best out of Loki, but has always failed. Loki was the reasons why the Avengers assembled for the first time. Iron Man, Captain America, Hulk, and Thor all came together to stop Loki and his nefarious plans. You see, Loki wanted a world of his own to rule, so Loki brings an alien army and invades Earth. Although the Avengers managed to stop him, the things on Earth would never be the same again. This alien invasion sends Tony into frenzy, and he realizes that he isn't doing enough. So what he does, he goes back to creating weapons and creates an AI to power a robot army to protect the Earth and the humanity. Needless to say, things didn't go down as planned. The AI named Ultron goes rogue and is adamant on destroying all of humanity, so Avengers assemble again to stop the Ultron. Well, Tony's plan to do good might have put all of humanity at risk, but not all was bad. A new superhero, Vision, is created, who is basically a robo with advanced AI and slew of other superpowers. So at least Tony did get his superbot, and it was way too powerful than anything he would ever imagined. What makes Vision all-powerful is his energy source, which happens to be one of the Infinity Stones called the Mind Stone, which is basically one of the 6 very special artifacts of the universe, and as the name implies, they are the sources of infinite power. What is even more interesting about Vision is that he is not only sentient and capable of feeling human emotions, but he also falls in love with a fellow superhero, a Scarlet Witch. She along her brother Quicksilver, who was a speedster, were at one point rescued by the Avengers. Scarlet Witch hated Tony Stark because as a child she had lost her family to a weapon designed by the Stark Industries. But she soon comes around when she learned that Tony Stark is a changed man now, who wants to make world a better place, and the Stark Industries no longer deals with weapons. While she fights Ultron alongside the Avengers, she loses her brother in the battle. Scarlet Witch's powers are tricky, but they're basically energy manipulation, and she is powerful enough to destroy an Infinity Stone, and she does destroy the Mind Stone and the love of her life, Vision, with it. The rise of the superheroes created concerns all over the globe, and the governments realized that the heroes need to be held accountable. So the UN Security Council decides to pass Sokovia Accords, which would bring the Avengers under the control of the government. All the superheroes had to either sign it or cease being a superhero, but it was almost binding like your taxes. But this idea of being controlled by the government didn't go well with Captain America, but Tony found it to be the right thing to do, which is a bit ironical. But the differences soon turn into a chasm when Tony learns that Captain America's childhood friend, who too happens to be a super soldier named Winter Soldier, killed his parents. The Winter Soldier was brainwashed by an evil organization named Hydra, which is an antithesis to SHIELD. Captain America tries to defend his friend, since Winter Soldier wasn't in his mind when he was doing all these evil things. This series of unfortunate events divides the Avengers, and they fell apart hard. We refer to this series of events as the Civil War.
The Avengers broke up. We're toast.
Broke up? Like a band? Like the Beatles?
Cap and I fell out hard.
Post-Civil War, Captain America along with the Scarlet Witch and Black Widow go into hiding. Black Widow was a Russian spy during the Cold War, and Clint Barton, aka Hawkeye, a SHIELD agent, was sent to kill her, but he somehow manages to flip her, and Black Widow has been a SHIELD agent ever since. And she was the one sent to evaluate Tony Stark for the Avengers initiative. While working with Captain America, Black Widow finds that SHIELD has been compromised and overtaken by the evil organization Hydra. Black Widow has no superhuman powers, but she is a super skilled spy and one of the best fighters with the tenacity to go after one of the strongest beings in the universe with nothing but just primitive weapons. Although during the Civil War, she initially sides with Iron Man, but she goes into hiding with Team Captain America. Steve Rogers realizes that no place might be safe for his friend Winter Soldier, but he needed treatment to undo Hydra's mind control, so he takes Winter Soldier to Wakanda, the same Wakanda that I mentioned a few minutes ago as the most technologically advanced country on the planet. Well, T'Challa aka Black Panther is the king of Wakanda. Wakanda excelled in technology because of the special metal called vibranium, which is way too versatile, and Wakanda has all of it, that it had decided not to share with the rest of the world. But things change when Black Panther's cousin, who lived his entire life in the outside world, stops by Wakanda. He makes Black Panther realize that cutting the rest of the world off might not have been the right thing to do, and Black Panther decides to open up the gates of Wakanda to rest of the world and share their advanced technology and resources. Avengers Endgame is the sequel to Avengers Infinity War, which was all about the Infinity Stones. There are 6 of them and Vision had 1. As it turns out, each stone has a different property of its own. The Infinity Stones came into existence when the universe itself was created, and when all 6 of them are brought together, it grants the wielder unfathomable powers. Even a single Infinity Stone is too much for a mortal to handle, let alone all 6. But Thanos is able to achieve exactly this to fulfill his childhood dream of balancing the universe. Thanos is an ancient being whose homeworld was destroyed because of overpopulation and lack of resources. While nobody on his planet had any clue how to solve the crisis, Thanos suggests genocide as the way to go. His idea was pretty simple, just randomly kill half of the world's population. But needless to say, suggestion was not only discarded, but he was also banished from his home world and named as the Mad Titan. So Thanos decides to take matter on his own hands, and ever since all he has ever wanted to do is balance the universe by wiping out half of the population, as he believes that life needs correction and getting rid of half of the living creatures is the way to go. So he sets out on his mission going planet to planet, killing half of the population, but considering the universe is too vast with billions of planets to visit, he decides to assemble all the 6 Infinity Stones so that with a snap of his fingers, he can do what would otherwise take millennia. Thanos has 2 daughters named Nebula and Gamora, who not only hate each other but more so hate Thanos. Each of them want him dead for all the torture and pain, but the hatred is not mutual. Thanos happened to love his daughter Gamora, whom he sacrifices for the Soul Stone. Thanos successfully acquires all 6 Infinity Stones, and while doing so, he kills Thor's brother Loki, beats the shit out of Hulk, re-destroys Vision, and then with a snap of his fingers, wipes out half of the population of the universe. And just like that, he fulfills his self-defined destiny by destroying life on a scale hitherto undreamt of. It's not that Avengers didn't try hard enough to stop the Mad Titan, but as it turned out, they were just not enough. Doctor Strange, a wizard and a master of mystical arts, and the Guardian of the Time Stone saw some 14,605 possibilities, and Avengers won in only one of them. Doctor Strange hands over the Time Stone to Thanos in exchange for Tony's life, something that he had earlier said he would never do. So maybe he saw something in those 14 million possibilities that made him change his mind. Well, the Avengers lost most of their members to the snap, which is now officially called the Decimation. The only ones left are Iron Man, Captain America, Thor, Hulk, Black Widow, War Machine, Ant-Man, Thanos' daughter Nebula, and Rocket. Rocket is a re-engineered raccoon that can talk and he loves weapons. He had a sidekick named Groot, a talking tree, but sadly he too turns into dust after Thanos' snap. Every member of Team Avenger is shook by what had just happened, but one in particular is too deeply affected as he loses his wife and children. Yes, we are talking about Hawkeye. He takes avatar of Ronin, which is a darker version of the character. Another member who loses his near and dear ones is the Ant-Man. Who is Ant-Man? Well, he's a superhero who has this super suit and these super particles called the Pym particles, which allows him to alter its size. And yes, he can talk to the ants. Ant-Man can alter its size, and he can shrink in size small enough to enter the quantum realm, which is a mysterious place filled with ton of unexplored secrets, and it exists on a scale smaller than that of an atom. Going into Avengers Endgame, the team is toast. They are at their lowest and no one has any clue what needs to be done, except Captain Marvel. Now who is she, you ask? Well, let's just say that she's a powerful superhero with various energy abilities. And although she's from Earth, she hasn't been around this part of the universe for decades. After the decimation, the emergency beep is triggered and Captain Marvel returns to Earth to join the Avengers. And the story continues in Avengers Endgame. There you have it, all you need to know. I know I have not covered every little detail, but that was not the aim. So that's it for today. Thanks for watching. Let us know your thoughts in the comments. Did I miss anything important? And please subscribe to the channel to enter the giveaway.